94.4 FM, the Friday Sports Show, the host of Petruzzi. Bringing news from around the world and the local area. I'm very fortunate to have some of the most fascinating guests from the field of sport, from the field of psychology, many different people who've joined us on this show. Interesting insights. Today, we're a fascinating guest who's going to give us an insight to the future of schools in 2050, which sounds like a long way away, but it'll go quicker than you think. So we've got futuristic expert and author Tracey Follow. Welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Thanks for inviting me. Great to be here.
So Tracey, tell us about the what the white paper says in terms of schools education in 2050. What do they suggest is going to happen?
Yeah, so this was a paper I was asked to research and write from Go Student, who are already involved in like personalised online tutoring for students, but they wanted to look further than what's available today. What would it be like in 2050? So project out some of the trends. So I'm a futurist, so I'm working in and around this area anyway, looking at trends, but specifically for education, what would back to school look like, for example? And the first thing I said was, well, there will be no back to school. Because one of the things we'll see with AI and digital technologies in particular is the transformation of education away from something that is, one size fits all, where everybody sits in a class, everybody of the same age, similar age, sits in a class looking the same way at the teacher and learning pretty much from the same sorts of materials at the same pace. What digital will do is completely disrupt that, and it will transform education into a much more personalised opportunity for each individual student. So, for example, this episodic way of learning, scheduled classes, term times, then half terms, holidays, it's very episodic, will be continuous because each and every individual student will have access to AI and lots of technologies that will allow them to build and customise and personalise their own sort of personal curriculum, if you like. So I foresee that we'll have a replacement of the national curriculum by very individual, customised, personalised curriculum, which basically follow your own interests and capabilities and skills and allow you to build your own education system just for you, if you like.
That's really interesting and fascinating, and I suppose sort of teachers listening in, and is there anything that sort of they can do to help students prepare for what's to come?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because this is a transformation not just for students but for teachers as well, of course. So it will change lots of things for everyone, and I think the way it will end up is that teachers will be elevated in terms of importance because they'll be able to outsource a lot of the more habitual routine things, dare I say admin, to AI, and get AI to handle that. And they can hand it off to them and spend more time helping the student co-create and craft the right customised agenda or curriculum for that individual student, understand the pace that the optimum pace, if you like, that the student wants to learn at, because AI will be monitoring and analysing that all the time, and then almost co-pilot with AI, very much a more sort of coached, bespoke kind of teaching for each individual student. I know in some ways it sounds a bit pie in the sky, and it's a long way from the model that we have now, but I think we saw a little bit of it in the pandemic. Outside of the bricks and mortar classroom, people were tailoring and making their own curricula, if you like, into the process, and in a funny sort of way. Not all of that experience was nice by any manner of means, but a lot of it gave students the ability to sort of self-learn and learn at their own pace and look for new things to learn, and I think they felt a bit more empowered a lot of the time.
Yeah, and absolutely, and it gave them more of a degree of flexibility. And how long do you think that before we can see this being implemented? You've mentioned there that Tracey, that we've sort of seen some implementation, but how long do you think we'll sort of see a bigger impact in sort of schools in terms of the sort of the concept of the paper?
That's a really good question, because I think a lot of it will depend on policymakers. So, for example, if I draw a comparison with Taiwan, in Taiwan, the digital minister took these pilots where she took the students, took them off the national curriculum, and built individual personalised curriculum for them. At the age of about 7 or 8, each of them is helped to identify what their purpose or mission might be in life, and then there's a curriculum crafted around that purpose in life for them, and that's what they follow. And it allows the individual student to really flourish, rather than be held back by what the nation state insists that you have to be educated in, or what all your friends are doing, or what the people of your age group are doing. I mean, why should one be limited to what everybody else is studying? If one has a purpose or mission that one is really passionate about in life, then shouldn't one be able to pursue that from the age of 7 or 8? And I think what they're finding is that actually individual students are flourishing. And so if we in the UK or elsewhere were to sort of copy that model, we could take some pilot studies, we could take some students out of the national curriculum, and we could test this and evaluate it, monitor it, look at the results, see what needed to be, amended or whatever. We could really learn from it. I think there's a massive opportunity for doing that, and then we could almost A/B test it with the traditional educational institutional model that we've got, and I think there'll be some really interesting results. But of course, I think the rest of this decade is very much about AI and the implementation of AI to sort of jog alongside us and help us with our everyday activities, not just learning but lots of other things in life. But as we get closer and closer to 2050, obviously within the white paper I've earmarked a few other technologies like really immersive learning in virtual worlds, which again completely empowers students no matter where they are in the world, how remotely they're working, to sort of join other people in these really weird and wonderful immersive worlds. So that, for example, if you're, learning astronomy, you're learning it on a starship, yeah? You're not learning it in a classroom. And then there's other technologies and skills that we earmark, and we talk about how neurotech might be used to monitor brainwave data and work out when students have a cognitive overload, where we really have overloaded them with information, and identify when each individual student needs to have a rest so that they don't burn out. So there's lots of interesting technologies, but they'll all come online at different points of time over the next sort of 20, 30 years.
Absolutely. And if anyone wants to look into more the research, Tracey, or your work, can you signpost them anywhere that they can sort of have a look into the sort of the research and maybe the work that you do as well?
Yes, absolutely. You can find much more on the white paper at www.gostudent.org, and then I've got my own website at www.traceyfollows.com, where I've got lots on the future of all these sorts of subjects, and I'll post the white paper up there as well, so people can get it either way.
Thanks, Tracey. I'll definitely check it out myself also, to be fair. So it's really interesting stuff. So I want to thank you for coming aboard the show. It's been really interesting and informative, and we sort of look forward to sort of seeing how this unfolds. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.